Welcome again to the Sovereign Business Accelerator Open House, Day 1. I'm Isabella. I'm a trauma psychologist. I'm a certified somatic practitioner and an energy witch and intimate leadership coach for revolutionary entrepreneurs such as yourself who want to run financially and spiritually successful businesses with ethics, congruence, and self-devotion. And you're probably here watching. And let me know if you are watching live or if you're watching on the replay. Let me know you're here. Yeah, engagement is wonderful. And I want to hear all of your questions and comments and thoughts and experiences. You're here. You probably signed up because you want to be your whole human self on the internet. You want to share the spectrum of your personality, or that is maybe that's something that you want to do. You want to have your essence, right? Just the core of who you are, be what draws people in, because wholeness communicates safety and trust. And people do business with people that they feel are trustworthy and that they like. And you're here because you want to tell the truth. You want to be in integrity. You don't want to have to manipulate or convince people to buy from you. And you just want to do that with who you are, who you be. And of course, communicating that safety starts with having sort of an internal sense of safety, having a compassionate relationship with all of your internal parts, especially your shadow. And you want to have a business that is connective, intimate, reparative, healing for yourself, right? Because that comes first, but you're also wanting to do it for the people that you're serving, even within platforms such as social media that are toxic, or in environments that are toxic, right? Where everybody's seemingly fighting for attention. So it's like really about like having yourself in the process of running a business that is, again, successful on multiple levels, right? That like supports you financially, but that is also successful in that it fulfills you and allows you to feel like you can be yourself and feel free. So what we're going to outline today, we're going to get into today the 4 components or the 4 pillars of a sovereign business. And when I am going to actually share my screen now, because I want you to get the full. I don't usually make slides, but I feel like they're really helpful. So I'm going to do that. Here we go, present. So I don't know why the pictures are not working or they're not loaded up right now. At this point, I don't care. Oh, here we go. Wonderful. So welcome to the Sovereign Business Accelerator Open House. So the reason why, I just want to back up and say, I've been doing uncolonizing work for over 2 decades. First, it was like the political kind, then the internalized dismantling of systems kind. And the reason why, let me see. Okay. The reason why sovereign business is so important to me is because, over the last 10 years, I've taken so many business courses. I've taken like the really disgusting, manipulative, poking into pain points, bro marketing kind. I've tried the very vanilla formulaic paint by number stuff. And I've tried like the magical oriented stuff, and the pussy-based stuff. And I kept taking course after course thinking I was going to find that one thing or that holy grail missing piece, like, oh, there's this piece of information that I'm missing and that person has it, right? And that wasn't true. What I learned by being in all of those containers was that there are some very specific things, like they basically taught all of the same things in a different way, of course, right? From obviously not the bro marketing stuff, but some of the stuff that is more like open, they all kind of taught the same strategies, just maybe a different angle on them, right? And what I learned is that there are some very specific things to focus on to attract clients. And that is basically sales and marketing. And we're going to talk about that this week. The other piece is like what I learned sort of from my own internal sense of like knowing was that business is all about relationships. And the more intimacy skills you have, the greater fulfillment, abundance, and reach you will enjoy in your business. And I learned that it was really the back end humaning of business, right? The inner management and the nervous system capacitation work that predicted whether or not you could create a successful and sustainable business over the long term, right? Without burning out, without hustling your way there. And I also learned finally that there is no other way to structure your business except around a way that supports your unique neurodiversity, your emotional needs, your health requirements, your life circumstances, your collective dreams, right? So I felt like, my origin story is a little bit different because I came into entrepreneurship already with a thriving practice, but I moved out of a therapeutic model of business to a coaching model of business because it was just not sustainable for my body. And I could feel myself like inching towards burnout because it was COVID and because a lot of people had needs coming into therapy. And I really wanted to focus on a specific niche. I was really excited about working with entrepreneurs. I was excited about working with at first Latinx women, but then women who were like healers. I really love working with healers. So I came into entrepreneurship already having had like my doctoral training in trauma. I came in with a 4-year certification in somatics, and it gave me an edge because I had the internal tools to up-level my inner game really, really fast, to not override what was happening in my body and what was wanting to be healed, because it was like, business is a spiritual path for me. It was really about like a growth edge. So what I'm saying with all of this is that you can learn all the business strategies in the world, but if you're not working with your nervous system, you're not going to be able to move those strategies forward consistently. You're going to eventually go into burnout and want to quit. Those days happen anyway, but you're not actually going to do it, right? If you are aware that this is a sign that it's not actually time to quit, it's a time like you're being asked to step in deeper. You're going to get tripped up on all of your shit that gets activated if you don't work with your nervous system, and you're just going to be unhappy, period. Like it's not going to feel good. So you have to work with your nervous system and the energetics. This has helped me like taking care of my energetics, keeping my energetic game like level as possible, even though it's been so wobbly over the last year. It's helped me show up daily in like consistent, joyous devotion, even when I was going through a COVID divorce in 2021. In 2020, I was like living in Airbnbs after a natural disaster forced me to evacuate my home for 3 months. Last year, I had a resurgence of PTSD symptoms, and 2021, I had chronic illness come up again, right? So a lot of this stuff has happened. And because I've been working with my nervous system and I have been keeping my energetic game on point, I have been able to show up consistently. Moody as fuck as always, but at least consistent with that. Because life never stops lifing, and managing your human behind the scenes is just absolutely essential. So if this speaks to you, I want to teach you to do the same your way for your business. This is not about a formula. This is not, I'm like showing you the way. This is really about you finding what works for you. So I'm going to go into what does it mean to have a sovereign business, right? So skipping this slide. So the 4 pillars of a sovereign business are sustainability, social impact, sufficiency, and symbiosis. I love alliteration. You know, I love alliteration. So we're going to get into each of these. So the sustainability piece, let me move my little image over here. So, and we're going to go just like, I just want to talk a little bit about each of these. So sustainability means several things. It means, yes, energy management and stewardship. What I mean by stewardship of your energy is really noticing how energy is moving through your body, what's coming up for you in every moment, like noticing, like having a communication with your energy, knowing when it's time to stop, when it's time to go deeper, really becoming well acquainted with your own energy system. For me, I have a very sensitive energetic system, so I have to be very careful about not overdoing. I have to be careful about, you know, when I am sort of intermingled with somebody else's energy, I'm pretty permeable. Things affect me very strongly. I like, you know, astrologically, I have to stay sort of on point about what's going on to be able to meet myself. And so that I don't burn out, or that I don't like overstep an internal boundary. So what sustainability means is also longevity, right? You don't want to, you want to like entrepreneurship or like running a business, you know, like this is not about overnight successes or plug in this formula and get it done. This is really about showing up, doing the internal work, working the strategies, getting really good at sales and marketing, and not burning out doing those, doing them from a place of joy, right? Feeling like you are serving your mission, but you're not extracting from yourself, right? It's really about like, it is really a matter of devotion, that when you bring yourself into your work, it's like, it's coming from a place of inspiration. It's coming from a place of joy, right? Because it's going to take a year, or 2 or 3 years to build your business. It takes time, right? And you know that you can do it because you are pacing yourself, right? You're running a marathon. You're not going to be sprinting your way through the marathon. You're going to be pacing yourself. You're going to be drinking water along the way, right? And taking breaks. All of that is part of sustainability. So sustainability is also about charging rates that sustain your needs, right? You're going to want to make sure that what you're charging is going to actually support you, so that you don't have to work a ton of hours to be able to make ends meet, or pay your bills, or pay for your kids' camp, or pay for your medical bills, if that happens to be the case, right? You want to charge rates that are going to support you energetically, and they're going to support you in very concrete ways, right? And that's why I got out of the therapy model of doing things, because yes, I made 6-figure years. Awesome, right? I made $150,000 one year, but I did it working really, really hard, and it wasn't sustainable. So sustainability also means that you feel internally abundant, and that you're pouring from a full cup, right? That you feel like you can share, like you're wanting to be of service, because you can't stop talking about it. It feels good to talk about it. You feel inspired, you feel full to talk about it. It doesn't feel like you're serving and you feel like, oh, I have to be useful and I have to serve, and it's coming from a place of extraction. It comes from because you've been nourishing yourself, and you do it because you can, because you have it to give. And finally, sustainability means making money grow as you earn it. So this has to do with financial planning. This is about putting things in place, putting your finances in a place, like having a 6-month buffer, like having savings, like cash flow, Having an emergency fund, right? 6 months of your salary in savings. This is about having life insurance or having some sort of insurance package or insurance solution that allows you, like disability, if you happen to get sick, you can step back from your business, right? So the financial planning piece is really important, but sustainability is also, right? Like, let's say that you have a chronic illness, you need to have systems in place, back-end systems in place where, you know, like standard operating procedures, like tasks that you do, to have them written up so that if you need to hand them over to your virtual assistant, they know what to do. They know how to step in, right? So that is also sustainable. You want to be able to step away from your business, let's say in a family emergency, right? Because life happens, and you want to have your business continue to make revenue. Okay, so how to start implementing sustainability? All right, so let's see, next slide, come on. All right. So how to start implementing sustainability? So you want to be listening to your body, right? For example, like right now, let's hang out for a moment and like listen to what's happening in your body. You want to be paying attention to the sensations in your body. You want to be paying attention to the yeses and the no's in your body, right? What feels aligned, what feels kind of like, oh, I don't really want to do it. You want to be in tune with what's happening in your body so that you can make decisions in service of your energy and set boundaries with yourself, right? Because sometimes we feel compelled to overgive, and right, we often think about setting boundaries with other people, but it's us that we need to set boundaries with. It can mean batching content when you're inspired, right? Like over this weekend, I was on vacation, and then when I came back from vacation, it was like boom, 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 a whole bunch of ideas came to me, and I just jotted down like little notes for each, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to get to those later, but at least like jotting down the ideas. Some people feel like they like to batch content when people with ovaries like to batch content when they're ovulating, and then when, you know, just prior to bleeding, they don't, and then they use that batched content. You also want to be creating a content bank for each offer that you have. You can do this over Trello, you can use Notion, like depending on how your brain likes to experience the information. I just use Google Drive, and I have like just themes of content under each offering. And you can just like, you know, people need to hear things several times. So repeating it, writing it slightly different, it's really about the main idea. Sometimes it's helpful to hire somebody to do the things that you hate to do, right? Make a list of all the things that you love to do for play, perhaps, and creativity, and schedule your work around that. Like I see clients 3 days a week, and the other days are really about free days. I like unstructured days where I can just kind of do whatever I want. And I can decide if I want to see a client that day, but it's not a requirement. So, so that's a possibility, right? Scheduling your work around pleasure, right? So that you can feel supported and nourished. So finally, for sustainability, what I was talking about before, like the financial planning piece, you want to set up a financial strategy so that you're paying yourself first. Like when you make money, right? Let's say you have a one-on-one client for 6 months. You want to be putting money into certain containers, right? You want to pay into a SEP IRA or a Roth IRA. You want to be padding that emergency fund. You want to be paying into a life insurance plan with living benefits, for example, right? You want to be protecting your income from getting taxed. So, right, you're making money work for you. Okay. All right, so we're on to pillar 2 of social impact, and I'm realizing that I can't see your comments because I'm sharing my screen and a whole bunch of stuff is going on. So I can't pay attention to all the things, but I promise I will come back into the comments and answer whatever questions you have. So please say hi And I'll talk to you soon. Let me know what's resonating and what's not. So social impact piece. So social impact means we're making our work, right, our medicine accessible to lots of different people. And we can do this via tiered pricing. I'm going to talk about those more in detail. Extended payment plans that don't penalize people for using them. You may have a specific target for activism, right? Like maybe a portion of the money you make goes to a specific cause that you feel really, really passionate about. Maybe it is like preserving indigenous culture, or maybe there's a group of people that you've been working with. Maybe it's a BLM that you've been, working with in your local community. Maybe it's around financial literacy. Maybe it's working with women who have been abused in intimate partnerships. So it can be whatever you want, but to let people know that when they're purchasing from you, right, when they're investing in themselves through your work, they're also supporting these other causes, right? And it really incentivizes people to buy from you. And I'll go a little bit into that more. The serving your local community. It's like, I have, for example, I have an opportunity to teach at my kids' school, like an after-school program, right? Like maybe you're not someone who donates money, but maybe you donate time to your community. Maybe you do volunteer work. So, yeah, so that's a possibility as well. And social impact is also when you communicate truth and value in your messaging, right? It isn't just about money. It is about when you tell the truth, when you give people permission to be more themselves, that is a service that has social impact, right? You are creating culture through what you post and how you show up. So you want to be thinking about social impact that way. So ways to implement social impact. Create pricing tiers, right? When the Sovereign Business Accelerator has 3 pricing tiers. There's an ally rate, a standard rate, and a community rate. The ally rate pays for the community rate. So it's like the standard rate is like regular, like what I feel like is worth like the transformation that I offered through this experience, that the results you're going to get. And then the ally rate is, I think, a portion higher. I think like a third higher or a fourth higher. And then the community rate is a fourth lower. So that is an easy way for people to have access and for them to decide, like, and it's self-selecting. So people don't have to fill out a whole form. There are descriptors for each rate and people can decide, oh yeah, that sounds most like me. This is the tier that I fit best into. And then they can purchase from there. Social impact implementation can be having a range of offers from low to no cost to higher ticket. For example, my one-on-one is now about $1,200 or $1,400 for 9 months. And I have like a podcast that is free, that is really like each podcast is a master class. So it's like, I feel really good about charging the rates that I charge for my high ticket one-on-one because I have free content. I give, I have this Facebook group. I give these trainings. My social media content is also free, right? There's a lot of free content. And I also have like a mid-range offer that is, for people wanting to do intimacy work, right? That is for the people in my local community. That's kind of a service that I provide as well. And my business coaching is the higher end stuff. So, right, again, deciding when it comes to like the donation or percentage of profits, decide like what's going to be your particular cause. What is like your special cause that you are really, really into and excited about? And then finally, like communicating as much transparency and truth as possible in your content, and knowing that that has impact as well. All right, so I'm wondering if y'all have questions. And I'm so excited to get into them later. So pillar 3 is sufficiency. So this is a big one that we kind of forget about. So part of the back end work of entrepreneurship is living into your sufficiency, right? Because oftentimes, like the stories that come in are that we're not enough, we're not doing enough, right? We're not offering enough. And so that internal experience of not enoughness has us in hustle mode, right? Leads us to burnout because we're thinking we have to do more, because internally there is a sense of unworthiness or undeservingness, whether you want to call that imposter phenomenon or lack, right? I consider these things not only pieces of like intimacy wounds or developmental trauma, but also our collective conditioning. Like as people socialize as female, we often think like we always have to do more. There's always an expectation. Like even with this Rihanna Super Bowl performance last night, people are demanding that she needed to do more, right? In reality, she doesn't owe anybody shit, right? So she was coming on that stage from an internal place of sufficiency. She's just like, I'm making another human. I get to just stand here and sing and have that be enough, right? So you have to embody, you have to really embody the person who can receive opportunities to generate abundance, right? Whether that abundance comes through clients or collaborations or cash, doesn't matter. But it's like, you have to be able to align with the truth that you are that person, right? And sometimes that's a daily practice of aligning with that truth. It is true, but sometimes, you know, our brain tells us shit stories and we don't always feel that way. So when we are able to, right, when we are able to nourish ourselves and feel full on the inside, then we can really offer our services from a place of generosity and not scarcity, right? This also has to do with our relationship with money, right? To really be able to make an offer and feel like, oh, it is so full of stuff, not because it's like you stuffed it full of stuff because you feel like it's not enough and you have to justify the price, but it's like, it just feels so good to offer it. And that gets you excited also about selling your offer and marketing. So part of sufficiency is really, you know, it is the nourishment through pleasure, but it is also like shadow work around removing the idea that you're not enough, to really embody that internal sense of sufficiency. And I feel like a big piece around it is also unshaming the ways that we've learned to extract from ourselves. It is also about unshaming our expression and feeling like, yes, I can bring all parts of myself out, and I can even be a bitch, and I can be this or that, and I'm still deserving of being paid for the transformation I offer, right? I can bring all sides of my personality out. I don't have to apologize for my humanity. I don't need to be fixed. I don't need to be improved upon. I get to be just as I am. I am enough, and I get to be well compensated for the transformation I offer. So ways to implement sufficiency. So when I was doing this internal work very intensely, I had an alter ego called 23K Isha. I still have her. I still have them. And the question you want to be asking yourself is like, this alter ego, how do they show up? Right? This having an alter ego sort of moves you out of your comfort zone, right? You're sort of like, it's a future version of yourself, but you bring it into the now by asking yourself, like, how does this person show up? How does this person walk? How does this person talk? What is the fully expressed version of this alter ego? And you make decisions from the point of view of that person, from the embodiment of that person, right? Of that alter ego. And this moves you out of your comfort zone, right? And it helps you in the process of becoming, of shedding whatever stories you have around it not being possible, or you not being able to do this, or, you know, whatever the story is. I can't think of any right now, but, you know, 23K Isha is really important to me because it's like, it reminds me of my goal. It reminds me of my potential whenever my brain forgets. It reminds me of like, yes, this is what we're doing. Okay, it snaps me right back into the energy, into the confidence that this is mine, right? And I get to have this, right? So a healthy entitlement. And how does 23K Isha handle rejection? How do they handle when people unfollow them, right? Or when clients ghost? Those are really important questions to ask because it helps you feel into a bigger version of yourself, or like actually an aligned version of yourself, right? Because we tend to sort of live more into our smallness than we do our full size. So sufficiency is also about centering pleasure in your life. I said something earlier about sustainability and abundance, internalized abundance. Sorry, I'm having one of those days where I'm just like dry throat and coughing. Pleasure expands your capacity to receive, right? And it looks different for everyone. So I want you to just pause for a moment, because I want you to have an experiential experience of pleasure. I want you to look around your space, and I want you to focus on an object that brings you joy. And I want you to take it fully into your system and really let it affect you. And maybe you let it into your system, like as you inhale, and as you exhale, let it circulate around your body for a moment. And I want like everything that's associated with this object. I'm looking at a painting I did with my kids several years ago. And it's just like, I'm remembering the process of co-creating, and it's just filling me up so much, right? So it is in these little ways, it's that little practice we just did that wasn't even like a minute long, that is about the moment to moment awareness of what's in front of you, what's abundant, nourishing yourself with beauty, with just the preciousness of each passing moment. And that actually supports an internalized sense of sufficiency. Sufficiency also has to do with offering yourself gentleness, forgiveness, and approval when shadowy parts come up, or when you've fucked up in some way. Certainly has happened to me so many times. And giving yourself grace and forgiveness is just like being gentle. It's like letting it go, you know, making nothing about yourself wrong, looking for what's working, celebrating the mess. Celebration is also a way to expand your nervous system capacity, right? And maybe right now, I'd love to invite you into like, what can you celebrate right now? Right? Just in the chat, in the comments, what are you celebrating today, in this moment, about how you're showing up for your business? Or maybe it has nothing to do with business. What are you celebrating today? And maybe for you, it's a journaling practice. Maybe it's making a list about what makes you amazing at what you do, except you're writing it as though you were writing it about a friend. Right? So really recognizing how amazing you are, because we often downplay the things that we're really good at, right? And then deciding that it's already yours. Like, this is sort of part of how we manifest. It's like, it's the embodiment of what we desire and deciding it's already ours. Again, like that healthy entitlement. So the final pillar, pillar number 4, is symbiosis. I just like the S. It's really about relationships. So I really want to invite us all to get away from the idea of self-made. That is a total freaking myth. Yes, my ego would love to think it did all of this by itself, but that would be so far from the truth. In fact, I've just had like so much of I couldn't do it alone. It just would be absolutely impossible, spiritually, emotionally, and everything. So getting away of the idea of self-made and centering relationships and intimacy in your business, not because it's going to support your financial success, but because that is precisely the world you want to create. You know, a lot of the people that are here, you are wanting to create a world you want to live in, right? You are healers, you are lovers. Yeah. And so the way that you do relationship, the way that you do business is really about the world you want to create. Like, it's congruent with that vision, with the collective vision. So when you go on a sales call, like, it's about meeting the human on the other side of that screen. When you create connections with colleagues, like, can it be a collaboration? Can you co-create something? Can you support each other in like lifting each other up in your business, like promoting each other, for example, or creating affiliate sponsorships? You know, and in the expression piece, like when you show up in your truth online, when you show up in your full spectrum humanity, you want to be communicating safety and trust, right? You want to have a system that's regulating or regulated, or you want to name when you're not feeling regulated. That also builds safety and trust, right? You don't have to do this perfectly. And yeah, you want to be like allowing yourself to be in your own humanity, right? Because that's also relational, because you have a relationship with all of your parts that is like safe, where there's room to be all of who you are. When you show up online as all of who you are, it gives other people permission to do so as well. So the final piece of symbiosis, and I'll go into how to start implementing in a second, but consent. Consent is really huge in the sales process, right? Because we often feel like, you know, in coaching containers, sometimes people cross coach or like offer unsolicited advice or pitch, you know, cold pitch in the DMs and all of that crap. That is just really awful for me, at least. I hate it. But, you know, when you have consent in the sales process, when it's like, hey, is it okay? Is it okay if I make an observation? Or is it okay if I start talking about what working together with me could look like? Just asking those simple questions, it's like, it really makes the person feel safe in your presence. And that is exactly what your brand is. Your brand is how people feel in your presence. It's not about the colors. It's not about your fonts or anything like that. It is about how people experience themselves and you when they're with you. So ways to implement. So again, it goes back to the same things. You want to create an internal ecosystem of permission where you can feel it all, where you can embrace all parts of yourself. Everything is allowed to be here. Everything is allowed to be part of your business. Another way that you can implement symbiosis and center relationships in your business is we often expect people to reach out to us. Like, yes, you know, I'll invite people to DM me, sure, right? But there have been times where I've also felt really excited about working with a particular person, and I've reached out to them and I said, I would really love to have you in my program, right? It also, symbiosis and relationship also means like engaging in people's posts. Like there's people you like online, write responses to their posts, engage, right? Like make friends, invite them to collaborate. If you have a podcast, invite them on the podcast, right? So just really being open to connecting. You might want to also incorporate more curiosity and consent into your sales process, right? We often think we have to like, oh, I'm going to tell you how, I'm going to spit facts about working with me and this and that. But it's like, and we really want to stay curious as to like, what is the client feeling right now? What are their doubts and fears about investing at a certain level? You want to be able to meet the human that's right there in front of you. And this is like, there's a level of like, you want to be not fully detaching from the sale because like, yeah, you want the sale, but you don't want it so much that it's sort of freezing you up on the inside, right? You're still just meeting with another human being. So the relationship is also about letting yourself be seen, right? You want to share your story, your origin story, honestly, with details, as much as you want to share with what's within your boundaries. And you want to let people know that you see them. Like when you write a sales post, you want people to know that you know where they are and that you can guide them through the process of getting them the results that they're seeking, right? Symbiosis is also like, we're as entrepreneurs, we're often expected, or we have an expectation of ourselves to be good at everything. The truth is that sometimes you need to work with someone who is good at the things that you still need support with. For example, in the fall, I worked with Pamela Barba, who is a brand strategist, and I learned so much from her because I wanted to run a business, like a business incubator or like a program. We did a 3-month program, and I felt like I knew the stuff of business, but I wanted someone there to like support me doing it because I didn't feel 100% confident. And now that I've been with her in a container, I really like a lot of the things that she shared were things that I knew intuitively, but that I didn't have a language for. And now I feel really confident about sharing it in the Sovereign Business Accelerator. So sometimes we need to work with other people first to sort of like get our feet wet, to get comfortable with certain topics. And then from there, we totally, we take it to another level. All right. So that is it for today. Let's stop sharing my screen. I want to know what your big takeaway was from today. And what do you feel like you can implement this month in your business? Hold up. And I really want to hear your questions and comments because I want to generate conversation. I want to hear sort of what's worked for you. What are things that are really exciting for you about your business? What things haven't worked for you? What things feel hard? Where do you want more support? I want to know all of those things. So I would really love it if you share that in the comments. And tomorrow, tomorrow I'll be teaching, is it tomorrow? No, tomorrow I'll be doing sales. You won't want to miss this one because sales and intimacy. We're going to get into a little bit of the symbiosis piece. We're going to get into that in more detail because it's going to be like a big one. So you're going to want to see that. All right. Love you all. Bye.